I really wish you guys would stop following me around.
But I'm the angel on your shoulder. And I'm the devil on your shoulder.
You're not on my shoulders.
Have you looked at the size of us? We couldn't perch on your shoulders if we tried. This is the next best thing.
Well, I'm not sure why you have to bug me at all.
I'm here to remind you of your better nature.
And I'm here to tell you to live it up.
Well, I actually think I could make those choices on my own.
Oh, really? Okay, then. Let's have a choice off.
A choice off?
Yeah, we give you options and you make the right choice. No help from us. Let's see how that goes.
I'm ready. Anything to get rid of these two.
Okay. Oh, your parents are old. Someone needs to help care for them. Go.
Why should it be you? I mean, what is your sister doing for them? Nothing. You should check in with them once a year.
Shh, no helping. What's your choice?
Well, what is my sister doing for my parents? When is it her turn?
Exactly. Leave them in the lurch, I say.
Not so fast. Let her think for herself.
Yeah, I will honor my parents no matter what, and care for them tenderly.
Atta girl.
And call my sister every week to remind her it's her turn to help.
Touche.
I still call it good for the win. Next option. You have a chance to kill someone.
No way. I'm totally anti-violence.
But this is a bad, bad person.
Do you mind, Devil?
Sorry.
Well, if it's a truly bad person, that'd be fine. No, it wouldn't be fine. Not at all.
I call foul on the angel leading the witness.
She's not. That's my own choice.
What's next now? Adultery.
Well, seeing as I haven't had a decent date since 2014, I don't think that's an issue.
Ooh.
But in theory,
faithfulness is way overrated. Everybody cheats. It's the American way.
No, devil. At least it's not my way. I would be faithful. Of course I would.
3 for 3, my pitchforkian friend.
Here's one of my favorites, stealing. I ask you, who hasn't swiped something? Let's pirate some music. How could it be wrong if everyone does it?
Listen to yourself, sad.
I choose not to take what doesn't belong to me, no matter what.
Heavenly job so far, Sarah. One more. Lying.
Or as I put it, giving the truth a fun little spin.
Well, I try always to be honest.
Tell me, is red a flattering color for me?
No, not even a little.
Well, now you have deeply hurt me. So what good is honesty if you make someone cry?
Oh, I'm sorry, devil. Don't cry.
Don't fall into this trap. We're talking about ruining someone's reputation, lying about them.
Oh, in that case, honesty all the way.
Congratulations, Sarah. You don't need us anymore. You can make the right choices all by yourself.
Yeah, Miss Goody Two-Shoes. I've wasted my time here.
Bye, guys. It's been real. I said goodbye.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye-bye. So today we take a look at the second part of the commandments. So last week we talked about how we are to behave toward God. Today we're talking about how we behave toward one another. And so the reading this morning starts out with love and honor. Honor your father and your mother. So that phrase has been on my mind a lot this week. On Tuesday, my parents called to let me know that they would have to cancel our kayaking plans for the next day. They had been in an accident involving multiple vehicles on 294. Thankfully, they have just minor injuries. And while several cars were totaled, no one was killed. My parents assured me that they were fine. Even so, after I hung up the phone, I started crying and I couldn't stop for about an hour. It could have been such a different story. I'm so grateful that I got to visit and spend some time with them one-on-one this weekend to see for myself that they were indeed okay. And then yesterday I attended a memorial service for my friend's father, and it was an especially tough one because I grew up with this man. His son and I met when we were 3, and we spent a lot of time together. As my friend spoke, telling funny stories and concluding with a letter that he had written to his dad in the late stages of his illness, he honored his father by sharing it with all of us. And it was a letter expressing his thankfulness for all that Dad had taught him, and always by example, and reflecting on how his dad shaped the person that he is today. It was the kind of thing that we often hear in eulogies, but my friend gave his dad the gift of being able to hear it before he died. If there's any good that can come out of a long illness, it's the chance to say those things. So let's step back for a moment. Let's remember where we are in the story here. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt for many generations, and through Moses, God rescued the people, and Pharaoh set them free, and they set off across the Red Sea and into the desert of Sinai. And after 3 months of travel, they finally arrived. I kind of picture that scene at the end of Finding Nemo, where all the fish in the tank, they've been plotting the whole movie. For weeks, they've been planning how to escape. And they finally come up with this elaborate plan that involves the dentist putting each of them into individual bags before cleaning the tank. And they cause a distraction, and chaos ensues. And finally, in this great climax, they escape. One by one, they roll out the window and across the road and land in the ocean. And they are free at last, except they're still in those plastic bags. And the final scene shows the fish bobbing around in the harbor as one of them asks, "Now what?" It's sort of the way I picture the Israelites at this point. They've escaped from Egypt. They've been traveling for 3 months, and finally they've reached the desert. Now what? Now, God says, you are going to live here in the desert for a while. I will show you the promised land, but for now, you're going to stay here. For now, you will remain in this in-between place, in this place that is already and not yet. This place where you are free from slavery and captivity and the powers of the world. And you will stay here while I teach you to live a new way. This is how you will live as free people. So pay attention. Never forget where you came from. Care for those who first cared for you. Respect the life of every human being. Respect the body of every human being. Respect the property of your neighbors, and be thankful for what you have. This is life God's way. This is what it looks like. Jesus called it the kingdom of heaven. But listen to these commandments. Honor your father and mother. Do not kill, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not testify falsely against your neighbor. Notice that all of them are focused outward. God's law is not about doing what seems best for us personally, but what is best for the kingdom. Pastor Rolf Jacobson put it this way. He said, the law isn't about you. It's about your neighbor. And God loves your neighbor so much that God gives you the law. And God loves you so much that he gives your neighbor the very same law. We haven't come very far, have we? Like the Israelites, it seems sometimes like we are still in the desert, most of the time. And if you remember Bishop Michael Curry, he was the one who preached at the royal wedding 2 months ago. Last week, the Episcopal Church had a huge gathering, and he gave a sermon in which he asked and answered the question, what is the opposite of love? So he talked about the power of love at the wedding, and at this meeting, he talked about the opposite of love. And here's a hint, the opposite of love is not hate. Hate takes as much, if not more, energy to sustain than love. It's not indifference, because even to ignore someone, to pretend they don't exist, takes a certain amount of effort, because ironically, we end up paying attention to them by carefully maintaining that wall and that awkward silence between us. The opposite of love, he said, is actually selfishness. Selfishness exploits the other. Love sacrifices for the other. Selfishness maroons us on islands. Love gives us the stamina to swim to the far shore. Selfishness makes me the center point. Love looks to Jesus as the center point. God comes to us in the desert where we still wander and says, life your way doesn't seem to be working. How about trying life my way? Love your neighbor. Love one another as I have loved you. So, my brothers and sisters, today, let us choose love. For each time we do, it brings us one step closer to the promised land.